Welcome. So welcome to Hypopressives. This is going to be just a 15-minute introduction of basically what Hypopressives is. And we are looking at Hypopressives being a low pressure way to train the abdominals and the pelvic floor and work with posture. So there is 8 in the Hypopressives that I have trained with. We work with 8 different postures, and we can change how we work them. And through the coming weeks, we're going to learn all of the postures and learn how to perform the breath. So just a little bit of talking before we actually get working on the breathing, just so that I can explain a little bit more about what it is. So we work with lateral breathing, and the lateral breathing is working on the rib cage breath. So we work at inflating into the ribs and then deflating, and then we exhale all of our air, and we create what's called an apnea, which is a vacuum. So we inflate our ribs and we draw. By doing that inflation, we hold the breath, and we have a natural contraction of the pelvic floor and the diaphragm working together to decrease intra-abdominal pressure. Okay, so Hypopressives will help, may help to reduce prolapse, incontinence, hernias. It will help. It will definitely help with posture. If you have prolapse or anything like that, it can help the symptoms, and so many benefits. It's a pretty old technique that isn't actually very well known. So we are going to start lying on our back, and the breath pattern that I'm going to give you tonight is literally what we would do in a warm-up, and I'm going to try and get you to understand how the Hypopressives works. I can maybe show you, but I have just eaten my dinner, so I will just, and obviously I'm not warm in the lateral breath, so I will just try, excuse my belly, yeah, so I will just try and show you. So it works on a count of 3, so you take 3 rounds of breath generally in each posture. So it would be inhale, exhale. So obviously I can't show you and talk, so I'm just going to create a vacuum, and then I will come to the camera and show you what happens. Okay, so it's a bit difficult to sort of explain and talk at the same time. It is better, you get a better visual when it's done in the morning, when you're not full of food. So that is what it looks like. But the visual doesn't need to, you don't need to see it working. It can still work without the visual. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start laying on our back. Start laying down on your back with your hands on your ribs, please. So hands on your ribs, nice and long through your neck. Nice and long through your neck. Feet are going to be hip width apart. And all we're going to do is let our knees knock together, so there's no real tension anywhere, just holding up through those knees. And you're going to breathe in through the nose and exhale out through the mouth, and work through inflating the rib cage. So the key is, with any type of breath work, to be honest, in my opinion, is the lateral breath. So the lateral breath is the breath that comes into the ribs, and we should be able to do this. This is Pilates breath. Yeah, as well. We want to be able to perform this type of breathing for healthy function, healthy pelvic floor function. Yeah, so we're going to inhale. And really sigh out. Okay, so when you take that inhale, you're going to sigh all the way out. It is helpful to do it through the mouth, so that you can actually make sure you expel all of the air and feel what happens to the ribs. So it will take you time to be able to build this up. It will take you time to be able to learn how to breathe, to not rise through the shoulders. And over the coming weeks, I'm going to be giving you all sorts of different things. Yeah. So all we're going to do is start by working on this breathing down here tonight, and maybe we try and create some sort of little apnea. Okay, so that is the vacuum. Now, as you're performing this breath, we're going to take the 4 fingers and place them inside the ribs. So try and feel your rib cage. So feel your sternum, and then walk the fingers. Yeah, walk the fingers down to the ribs and feel the fleshy bit underneath the ribs. Yeah, so it's almost like you're trying to hook your fingers. Yeah, as though you were trying to do a bit of rock climbing and you're trying to hook your fingers over the ridge of the rock. Yeah, you're trying to hook your fingers underneath your ribs. Now do that same thing. Inhale and exhale and push down and feel if there's any points of tension, any sore bits, and follow those fingers along the ribs. So you can actually feel if there's any tension into your diaphragm. Yeah, it's obviously a little bit difficult to feel because it's underneath lots of things, but just feel there might be areas that are pretty tight and sore, and they can really stop us from being able to breathe properly. Yeah, so each time you exhale, just feel when the air's out, have a little bit of a poke around, see if there's any bits that you think, oh, there's a little bit of a tight bit there. It's just the same as if you had, an injury in your shoulder and it was a little bit tight around your chest, you would massage it. It's exactly the same thing. We're just trying to get the blood flow in there and release, the diaphragm is a muscle the same as anything else. Okay. So then take your hands back to your ribs, and I'm actually going to try and explain to you, and we're going to have one little go at doing the apnea before we actually start to count the breath. So what I'd like you to do is on your next exhale, try and get all the air out. So you're going to get all the air out, and then you're going to pinch your nose and close your mouth. And then imagine that you're taking a breath in. So when you take a breath in, you're breathing into the ribs, but you can't breathe in because you're pinching your nose and your mouth is shut. Okay, so you've got no air left in your lungs. So that creates what's called an apnea. Now you might get a little bit of a snort when you release the nose. So it might, I'll try and do it. Hang on. Yeah, did you hear that? So that is like a little snort that when you first start practicing, you can actually get, because it's like the air is just suddenly rushing back in. And don't worry if you don't get any of this, because it's quite a lot to learn the principles. Yeah, but once you get going, it becomes obviously like anything much easier. So when you take your full exhale, you're going to pinch your nose, close your mouth, and imagine that you're taking a breath in. So when you imagine you take your breath in, you're going to try and inflate your rib cage, and you're not trying to engage at all through your abdominal muscles, but you are just going to try and expand your ribs. Okay, and then you'll release the pressure from your nose and you'll open your mouth and take an inhale. So we're going to try 3 full rounds like that. Yeah, so we're going to start. So getting ready to breathe. So we inhale for the count of 4, exhale for the count of 2. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 1, 2. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 1, 2. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, pinch, close, release the tension at the ribs. Inhale through the nose, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 1, 2. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 1, 2. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 1, 2. Get rid of all the breath, all the breath, all the breath, all the breath. Pinch the nose, inflate, and release the tension at the ribs. Okay, inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale. Inhale. Inhale. And pinch. Sorry, exhale. Pinch. Release tension at the ribs. Okay, release. Come back to normal breath. And then bring yourself around and up to a seat. Okay, now it may or may not be that very first time that there was nothing that happened. You couldn't feel anything, you couldn't hold the breath. You found it all really, really difficult. So now and that again is perfectly normal. So now we have had a go at it. I'm just going to lay on my back and show you one full round so you can see and understand it a little bit more now you've had a go. Okay. So we do different arm positions, but first of all, we're just looking at the position. Just this would be our starting, our preparing breaths. Okay. So I'm just going to do one round, so that'll be 3 breaths, 1 apnea. Okay, so that is just one round of preparing through the breath. So for homework, and this only works if you keep practicing, the same as, you know, if you wanted to get fit, it would only work if you ran 3 times a week, if you were training for a marathon. Yeah, it's not going to work if you just do it once and then don't ever do it again. So practice even if you can do it a couple of times, practice what I've given you, the breath, breathing into the ribs. I will upload this as well, but obviously there's lots of talking from me tonight, but you might want to watch it again just to refresh your memory of what you need to do. Yeah, so just practice breathing into the ribs and exhaling all the air, and then pinching and inflating into the ribs. Okay, so you're letting that tension completely go. and have a feel around into the diaphragm and see if you're creating any tension. Yeah, so thank you for joining. That is exactly 15 minutes. Yeah, so I will upload this, and any questions, please message me. But I promise you, if you do any type of fitness, running, anything like that, weightlifting, you know, aging, menopause, etc., postnatal, you know, it's a very fantastic thing to do, and it's